saying the fact that you can't understand how your experience could just be a product of brain states doesn't mean that you actually have this love thing that you're talking about.
Yeah, well, my point is simple. My point is there is no way to empirically prove that a miracle has occurred. Why? A scientist would have to assume, or a person with that belief that science is what determines reality, a scientist would have to assume, no matter what, that no natural cause had been discovered yet. And so that's TJ's point. I would assume that you would say, although we do not understand exactly why this happens, there is a natural explanation. We just don't have it yet. Because your worldview, at least what I've heard you espouse, Tjump, is that only the natural is real, only what is measurable is real, only what is scientifically verifiable is real. And I'm obviously contradicting that and saying I disagree. I think that your experience of life shows you that there is more to reality than simply what you can scientifically verify.
One sec. Folks, if you want to let me know in the chat, so sorry, I accidentally left myself on mute in OBS. Let me know what the last question was that you heard from me being asked. It sounds like you guys could hear everybody else, so you maybe were able to piece together what the questions were, but sorry about that, folks. And appreciate your question. This one comes in from Martin C., who says, Christianity or Christians, do you have contemporary evidence of an afterlife?
Near-death experiences. I think we're getting more and more peer-reviewed articles out of Duke University showing a lot of evidence for them. And so a lot more scholars are taking them seriously. I never would have said NDEs like 5 years ago, ever.
I won't say them 5 years from now.
5 years ago. But, and then also the miraculous. I mean, when I was in Haiti, again, this gets back to personal experience. I think every single person I talked to had some kind of encounter with the supernatural.
Next.
Yeah, go ahead.
So have I. I've had plenty of encounters with the supernatural. And then I got better, and I realized that those things never actually happened.
Give you the last word, Cliff and Stuart.
Yeah, I mean, okay, this gets back. Okay, well, I don't know if that was shrooms or what, because there's a whole, another piece of literature talking about how a lot of the Christians actually had serious hallucinogenic type issues, and yet they were still right on things. And that's more literature coming out. So, no, from an actualistic perspective, Aron's exactly right.
Next, Zakus, so sorry.
Hold on a second before we get to that, because when we did the first debate, we inspired the second debate, and now he's inspiring me to do another one. So we're talking about scientific evidence for the supernatural. Ooh, I think that's a valid debate. It probably should be a scientific debate. It probably should be in writing.
That sounds juicy.
And all these empty assertions that I know you can't really.
We must go to the next one. We in experiments in prebiotic chemistry. So sorry if you didn't hear me read the super chat saying hi, Aron. Nice to talk to you, as well as Zacuse. Thank you for your question. Who, if you couldn't piece it together, your question was, Cliff, a psychopath can't choose to love. This is something that Cliff had already answered. So sorry about that, guys. I'm a rookie over here. Then Sphincter of Doom. I think you had heard that one. Folks, let me know if you didn't. That was the one on the inscrutability of experiences does not insulate conclusions drawn from that experience from scrutiny. And hopefully we're all caught up, because now we have Patriot University PhD, who has a question saying, Aron Ra, have you finished watching Mr. Hovind's DVD series, and which one was your favorite of them?
I have not watched any series that the convicted fraud, Mr. not Dr. Hovind, has ever made.
Don't worry, I'll buy you a set, Aron. And then Dean Meadows.
No, I won't watch it. I would rather that his fans provide something that was supportive of his position and actually true. Because Kent Hovind is a professional liar. That is all he does.
Gotcha. We must move to the next one. Dean Meadows, thanks for your question. Said, Aron, why is it that after being corrected by Inspiring Philosophy and Eric Hernandez on the definition of faith, do you still
You mean when I proved that I was correct both times?
They said, why do you still use the incorrect definition?
Am I still correct after having proved to be correct?
Next up, Dean Meadows. Thanks. All right, we've read that one. Cupcake for All. Thank you for your question. Said Cliff and Stuart, why are you so angry?
I hate lies.
I said Cliff
I
and
had
Stuart.
Lion's Mane coffee tonight and a little deer antler velvet spray. If you've ever had either of those, you'd be angry too.
Next up, Bruce Wayne. Thanks for your super sticker support, as well as Stick to Strong. Appreciate your support. What we have to do, if we do have a third debate, folks, with these two tag teams, I insist we do it in person. We can put your super chats to work, folks, as we could try to find a way to get all of our parties here in the same place. And so that's something I think would be especially fun.
If we're going to be debating the scientific evidence of NDEs or whatever nonsense it was that they wanted to support, we have to have prior reference to whatever scientific peer-reviewed documents they're going to present, because we have to read them in advance and be able to understand and analyze them.
Gotcha.
So that's the big issue with debating creationism, on a stage, because people, as many times as happened to me, they will bring up, scientists have found, blood of dinosaurs in fossils. No, you go back and look at what the actual study is when you get a chance to read it. No, it doesn't say anything that you just said it did. Here's what it actually said. That's what over and over again happens with me. So we have to be able to read those things, those citations, before the debate.
Gotcha. And want to remind you folks, a couple of things. One, that our guest links are in the description. We have more questions, so don't go anywhere, but they are linked in the description. So do want to let you know that if you'd like to hear more of any of our guests. Also want to let you know, if it's your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button, as we have many more debates coming up. As you'll see on the bottom right of your screen, Bart Ehrman will be here with Jonathan Sheffield. That is coming up just over 2 weeks from now. So that should be a juicy one. If you want a reminder, you know where that subscribe button is. And Gabriel K., thanks for your question. Let's see, said, for Cliff and Stuart, if Jesus doesn't love you after all I do for making me laugh, I'm confused by that. But I think he's trolling. And Stick to Strong, thanks for your questions. That for both, does annihilation theory make more sense given the canon of Scripture? What convicts you that they originally taught a literal hell? Thanks.
Yes, annihilationism is a position that many followers of Christ have embraced over the past 2,000 years based on different passages in Scripture, including Matthew, where Jesus says, do not be afraid of the one who can kill the body but not the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. And the point is destruction. So that is why annihilation has been embraced by many followers of Christ over the past 2,000 years.
Who can destroy the soul, and how do I get to meet this person?
Oh, you're going to meet him one day, Aron. It's called the return of Christ and the day of judgment. But he loves you, Aron, and I'm praying that.
But I want my soul destroyed, because your heaven would be a horrible damnation, and I want to be spared from it.
No, I can promise
How do I
you
get out of
heaven
that?
is going to be the best that you can imagine. And it's going to be
I can imagine better than you can even think of. And I want to get out of the damnation that you praise.
You're far more intelligent than I am, Aron. That's not the point. The point is that Jesus insisted that heaven is far more wonderful than the human mind, any mind, can comprehend.
But if you think about it for 10 minutes or more, you'll realize that it is eternal damnation in one form or another. And I would rather be spared that. I don't want to live with little Anthony Fremont for all of eternity. So just destroy my fucking soul and let me out of the deal.
Well, I pray that you'll trust in Christ and receive eternal life.
Well, I can't trust in your magic imaginary friend who isn't real.
Okay, we must move on. Gabriel K., thanks for your question. Said, so because Roswell exists, therefore do aliens exist? I think they're saying that with the argument of
archaeology,
the New Testament documents citing certain places that were real historical places. They're saying that if you use a reductio, you get in this trouble.
All I'm asking is you come up with your own tests, whatever they are, that you use to determine whether any document is historically reliable. And what I shared was, I have 4 tests. And one of those 4 tests that I use on any document that claims to be historical is, does archaeology support the place names listed in the document?
Gotcha. Next up.
Importantly, importantly, we have absolutely no evidence that the Exodus ever happened. We know for certain that Noah's flood never happened, and that Adam and Eve were never real, and the Tower of Babel never happened, and no guy ever lived for 3 days inside of a fish. And all of that is complete nonsense. We know that.
I can give you a chance to respond, Cliff and Stuart, given there were some new points.
If the resurrection happened, that doesn't matter.
It's real
that
simple.
can all be wrong, but if the resurrection happened, it does not matter.
Real simple.
Resurrection didn't happen either.
All of what you just listed is never in the Gospels. All of what you listed is outside the Gospels. I was not arguing.
It doesn't matter.
I was not arguing. Yes, it does matter. I was not arguing for the historicity of the flood. I was arguing for the historical reliability of the Gospel.
Well,
that'll get to what we're going to talk about after the Q&A.
Tom's chair, thanks so much for joining us. You look so comfortable under Tom right there on screen. Says, the Bible is just another religious story from a very religious time and place.
Is that a question?
All right. That's real simple. The reason you, as a thinking human being, should read the New Testament Gospels is because the civilization that you live in has been more profoundly influenced by Jesus Christ than by any other person. So if you're an intellectual, if you're someone who's interested in thinking through, why is the culture that I'm living in the way it is, you've got to read the person who influenced your culture more than anyone, Jesus Christ, to figure out, is he a liar or is he reliable?
Next up,
or
Jason
was he not
Burris.
Even real?
Jason
which
Burris,
is the
your
apparent
question.
thing.
Next up says, answer Aron's question, does the finding of Troy give evidence to Hellenistic faith? It's kind of like the Roswell question.
Our point has never been that archaeology is a reason to believe and to have faith. Our point was archaeology is one of the 4 tests that I gave to determine the historical reliability of a document called Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the New Testament.
Okay, so we know that all of the archaeological records.
But we do have one. This one's for you, Aron. It's from Patriot University, PhD. So honored to have you. Says, how was your vacation at Dinosaur Adventureland? Aron, did you go hang out with Kent Hovind and his crew? I didn't know that.
No, I never went to Hovind's slave camp.
Gotcha. Okay, Cystic to Strong. Thanks for your support. Appreciate that super sticker. Then Eric Veerthaler, 92, thanks for your question, said, would Aron ever debate a flat earther such as Nathan Thompson?
Yes, I would, but since Kent Hovind was just brought up recently, let me tell you, this is what I want to say seriously.
What is it, Aron? Wait, I'm sorry, Aron. It was just at that moment. Who did you say it cut out? Who did you say that we should get?
We just mentioned Kent Hovind.
Oh yeah, but we didn't hear it cut out when you said.
Right after you said, "This is what I really want to say," it froze right after you said that.
Yeah, I've got a complaint to my internet because I pay for commercial service, and so I should not have interruptions or stalls. Right. So I'm really pissed about that. But somebody mentioned Kent Hovind, and so you're going to mention flat earthers, and this is what I want to see. Yeah, I would gladly debate a flat earther, but what I really want to see, and I'm being sincere, I want to see Kent Hovind debate the best flat earther there is, because it would be wonderful, because this would be the first time in Kent Hovind's life when he ever had to use science to his defense, where in an argument he could potentially win.
So next, it would definitely be interesting. We've tried to. We'll try again. I know that Nathan Thompson, who I might be the best flat earth debater, wants to debate Hovind, but Hovind has not taken the bait. Cystic to Strong, thanks for your question, said, for both, does annihilation theory make more sense given the can't... Oh, we read that already. Let's see. We have another one. This one's from Meerkat SK5. Tjump, if only a consensus can truly verify a claim, do you have a study that asked scientists from every field that whether the statement, quote, only a consensus can truly verify a claim?
Consensus doesn't verify anything. Consensus is the way you have people who assess the evidence and reliably understand it. But consensus isn't a verification.
Gotcha.
And consensus is when 98% of the experts in the field all have come to the same conclusion based on the same studies.
Gotcha. And Mir or this one's Patriot University PhD, very active tonight. Says Aron Ra needs to sell his microbrew beer ASAP. That's right. I thought I remembered this. Go.
Yeah, I wish I had a microbrewer that did one batch of Godless Heathen, and he promised he was going to do more, and he disappeared. And it pissed me off because it was actually good. It wasn't a high ABV, but it was actually good. The taste, I mean.
That's well, hopefully in the future. And then we have Strudel Slayer. Thanks for your support. I didn't see a question.
Slayer.
I don't. Does that mean something bad? It's like everybody does
No,
that.
no.
Okay,
I just
Meerkat.
love
like
these
a
usernames, like Cosmic Sphincter, and I mean.
Cosmic, yes. Meerkat SK5 and Strudel Slayer. I didn't get your question. It just. But thanks for your super chat. Let me know in the live chat if you want to attach a question to it, and just put it as a normal chat. You don't have to do another super chat. Wilma. Wilma, thanks for your question, said, to Aron and Tjump, I myself struggle with having hope in humanity and not letting frustration consume me. How do you two deal with, creationists or still believe, or people who believe in mythology?
No, they're not nearly as bad as politicians. Like, we need heavy doses of alcohol for that.
And I noticed that politics is actually far less rational than religion. It's bizarre. But in either case, we're talking about people who don't care what the truth is. They want to believe what they want to believe, and that's it.
Yeah, that seems very true. I've experienced that myself. Jeff Young, thanks for your question. Said, does anyone recognize? They said they'd love to hear people like William Lane Craig or Bart Ehrman. We can work on seeing if Dr. Craig comes on, but Dr. Bart Ehrman will be on later this month. If you're looking for top-notch intellectuals, we will shoot for Irresistible Truth. Thanks for your questions. That Arnon, you mentioned the issue of free will with your opponents. What has your experience been with debating Calvinists since they are determinists?
I love Calvinists, the fact that they exist, because I can use their existence against the other body of Christianity. Gotcha. Especially when it comes to the idea of free will, especially when it comes to arguments of morality, because there just isn't any. I mean, Calvinism is just like Islam in that God decides who's going to do. God decides whether I'm going to believe or not. God decides whether I'm going to do evil or not. And then God decides that he's going to punish me for the thing he forced me to do. So I have no free will. Same thing with Calvinism. God decided in advance. So sin all you want to. You were predetermined to go to heaven, and it doesn't matter what you do, and you're going to go to hell no matter what you do. So
next up, let's see. OP, thanks for your question, said, if science works on consensus, then should we trust the scientists that believe in the flat earth in the 15th century or actually examine the data? I think they're saying, like, if we lived at that time.
Yeah, no scientist believed in a flat earth in the 15th century. First off, science does not work on consensus. So any one person can overturn the status quo. It's just the validity of the arguments and the evidence that he brings forth. That's why tectonic theory replaced expanding Earth theory, and it took until Wagner was no longer alive. Wagner was ridiculed during his own life, and yet after he died, eventually, all of the scientists realized one by one, they all realized, you know what, he had a point, and what he said works out. And you know what, he was right. That's what the consensus means, is that all the scientists have tested it and they've all realized, yeah, he was right.
Gotcha. And thanks so much for your question. This one comes in from, you guessed it, Patriot University PhD. Says, why did you switch from a stout to a, is it larger? Lager? Lager.
I'm not drinking a lager. What I had tonight, and I'm going.
What do you have tonight? Oh, okay.
And then I went to Full Grown Jack, which is a pumpkin stout. And then I went to Full Grown Hombre, which is flavored by ancho chilies. And then I went to another local brewery. These are all Dallas breweries. This is Revolver Blood and Honey, and this is an American ale.
Nice. That sounds really good. Which was the one you said you had tonight?
I had all these.
Oh, okay, there we go. Gotcha. You got it. And thank you for your question from Ryan Adams, who said, how can human experience be an accurate pointer to a supernatural? Wouldn't it only point to known and unknown?
All right. My experience of life is real. My experience of life is that science is a wonderful branch of knowledge. My experience and observation is that historical knowledge is a wonderful branch of knowledge. And my experience is that my interactions with people is not based on science. It's not based on history, although both of them influence me, but it's based on trust. And the way I trust someone is by amassing evidence that they are reliable. And then when it comes to trusting God, the question is, has God revealed himself accurately in Christ? And is the evidence pointing to Jesus being reliable, trustworthy? And I would argue the historical evidence of his life, teachings, death, and resurrection is that indeed Jesus Christ is reliable. And if not, please give me someone who is more reliable than Christ.
The famous atheist Ian Wilson became a Christian again, and Dawkins, Hitchens all hated it that Ian Wilson became a Christian. And he said the main reason why is because he met so many Christians who had radical character change. That's one.
But he couldn't find anybody that actually had evidence that they were correct. I have interviewed a handful of former atheists, that not just people like you see them all the time, people who say that they were card-carrying atheists or that they were devout atheists, when you know they never really were atheists. I'm talking about people who we could verify were not just atheists, but atheist activists once upon a time, and who later adopted Christian belief. I've interviewed a handful of them. They do exist. There's only a few of them. There's a very few of them. But in each case, all of them, the reason that they believe was entirely emotional. They believed simply because they wanted to, because it made them feel good some way. Just like a drug.
Next up,
That's both ways. Except for Dr. Francis Collins, head of the NIH.
His was the most bizarre.
We must.
His was the most indefensible.
We really do.
I saw a waterfall.
So much.
I saw a waterfall that split into three directions, and I decided to lose my fucking mind and decide that means that the Trinity was real. What an idiot!
Morior Invictus, thanks for your question, said the flood absolutely happened. Look at Inspiring Philosophy's video on it. Jesus is king. Atheism is cringe.
Sorry, I've seen Inspiring Philosophy's video on the flood that actually happened. You can also find that exact same account in my series on why the flood didn't happen. The 8-part series of how we know that various forms of science prove that Noah's Ark or the Noah's flood never happened, that there was never a global flood. What there was an actual flood around 2600 BCE in the and at the end of the Jemdut Nasur, which was centered on the city of Shurapak, so that one city flooded. Yeah. And then the stories about that were exaggerated into ridiculous proportions. The only way that you can ever exaggerate a flood story is to say that eventually everything was flooded. And so there's a handful of people who told that exaggeration, except that there's important details missing. Like in one version of the story, the only people who survived was a man and a woman who hid in a seashell. And in another version of the story, all of the animals turned into fish and then turned into real people again. And then in another version of the story where the entire world was flooded, it was flooded with beer.
Next up, we have Andrew Handelsman says, Aron, I saw you leaving Dinosaur Adventureland with an Ark toy. I'll Photoshop.
No, you didn't.
I'll Photoshop that.
I've only been in Alabama once, and I was only there as long as it takes to drive through it.
You got it. And Gabriel K., thanks for your question, said, I am being serious for once. I have learned more from science than the Son of God has ever shown, and he has the power to let me know right now. Next up, Sphincter of Doom, thanks for your question, says, there's Cosmic Sphincter, says, Aristotle was very influential in modern science, and it took decades to overturn. The singular influence of of a person on society isn't enough to accept. I think that's for you, Cliff and Stuart.
I am very grateful for Johann Kepler, the father of modern astronomy. As he peered out of the stars at night, he exclaimed, "O God, I am thinking your thoughts after you." I'm very grateful for Galileo, for Copernicus, for Boyle, for Faraday, for Dr. Francis Collins. I am very grateful for all the science professors on university campuses across this country and around the world who have a deep commitment to science because they understand that a rational God created an orderly world, gave them rational minds, and they, by exercising their rational minds in a responsible way, can unlock the secrets of the universe.
You know, Kuhn in the paradigm shift.
Who lost their rationality when they jumped to unwarranted assumptions for no damn reason.
Kuhn's paradigm shift. You know how long it takes, if you read Kuhn, for a paradigm to change in society, whether it's Aristotelian or many others. You look at the Jews overnight, pretty much, after Jesus' resurrection, changing to Christians. That's a tough one to explain.
Overnight staying Jews?
Tremendously difficult. They believe that Jesus Christ is
tremendously difficult that they stayed Jews.
His own brother now all of a sudden never believed in him and became head of the Jerusalem church.
And James, you believe that?
And it was killed.
You believe that Jesus' own brother somehow didn't believe in him and then suddenly did?
It's in scripture and tradition. I mean,
and
what more do you want?
That?
You want Josephus too?
Nice.
I totally believe that.
I do want Josephus.
You just believe in some flood from thousands of years ago that I've never even heard of, and you were certain of it. You were like, "I'll tell you the flood that did happen."
I already have Josephus supporting my side of the argument.
We must. I hate to
so
say
you
we
don't
must
get Josephus. I got him.
Next up, so we let's say appreciate this question. This one's coming in from Zakus. Says, if Jesus is historically reliable, how was he born before King Herod died and at the first census of Quirinius?
You are familiar with this, right?
Very difficult question. Good, hard question. Very perceptive. All right. First point. When you study the Syrian government, there were two people who were called governor. One was the head of the military, and the other was the head of the government. So it's quite possible that Quirinius served in two capacities as governor. One as head of military, two as head of the government. And therefore, it's possible that Quirinius was governor in 6543 BC, as well as in 5678 AD. Possible. We don't know. The text is silent, so we have to be honest. The text is silent, but that is a possibility.
Except that this is the word of God. And we are basing the value of our entire existence. Are we going to be tortured mercilessly, senselessly, with no forgiveness whatsoever, relentlessly, vindictively for all eternity? Or are we going to get the perpetual blowjob on ecstasy forever and ever and ever? All on whether we believe the atrocious bullshit story or not.
No, it's simply an issue of, if you want to live your life together with God, you'll spend eternity with him. And if you want to spend eternity, if you want him to live your life separate from him, then you'll spend eternity separate from him.
George Harrison died.
Each one of us. It's that
George Harrison died convinced that he was going to spend eternity with his personal God. But according to you, he's in hell because his personal God was Krishna. And you said that's wrong. You said Hindus don't say that. You said Hindus don't say that, but there are lots of Hindus who actually do say that.
We must move on to the next one. I hate to do this, but let's see. Unless you had a short and pithy reply, I do have another question. This one comes from Sphincter of Doom. Says, how do you test your faith? Refusing to consider the possibility of wrong is admitting you're not going to find out.
Jesus commands his followers to be skeptics. He says in the Sermon on the Mount, beware of false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves, and they will eat your lunch. So because good and evil are so intertwined in this world, Jesus commands us to be skeptics.
And Jesus commands that we not be skeptics, that we believe credulously, that we buy into his bullshit arguments on faith and for no other reason because we don't have any evidence. And he criticizes people who ask for evidence and says, you, Thomas, you ask for evidence, but blessed is he who has not seen and yet believes. So, and you will not put the Lord thy God to the test. That's what Jesus said. Jesus said, do not be a skeptic. Believe what I said because I said so and for no other reason.
Next
that is
up.
not what he said to Thomas.
Thank you for your question,
Said,
Warrior
Thomas,
Invictus.
put your hands right here. He did not reprimand Thomas for his doubt.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
With the exact verbiage I just
Thomas
used.
in his doubt, and he said, "Come on, Thomas, right here."
Blessed is he who has not seen and yet believed. Yeah,
That's
Jesus
correct.
actually said that.
He did say that.
Open up your book of fairy tales.
I know that.
And look it up. It actually does say that.
Quote Jesus. And say it's Jesus who said it. Say it's you.
Yeah, it was
Warrior,
Jesus who said that in your book of fairy tales.
We must move forward. Warrior Invictus, thanks for your question, said much more than one city in Inspiring Philosophy's video on the flood. Meltwater Pulse 1B Science catching up to flood stories / evidence the world over. I think that's fine.
Is that a question directed at me?
Yeah. It's going back to Inspiring Philosophy's video on the flood. They say much more than one city mentioned in Inspiring Philosophy's video, and Meltwater Pulse 1B.
Yeah, there was more than one city. I said it was centered on Shurapak.
Okay.
But it did affect other cities in the surrounding area. It was not a global flood.
They also said Meltwater Pulse 1B Science catching up to flood stories / evidence the world over. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, well, the world over does not relate to the flood of Shurapak. I mean, in Greece, you had a similar flood legend that could have been based on the same thing, wherein the people escaped the flood by going to high mountaintops, which obviously, if it's a global flood and it covers everything the way the Bible said, obviously the Bible is still wrong again on the floods if the Greeks can hide on mountaintops. And then strangely, in Japan, they don't have any flood legends at all, which is weird because they get flooded regularly by having more tsunamis than anybody else ever has. I guess it's just that happens so regularly that it's not a joke. You don't even tell stories like that. I think that's what the issue is with them.
Next up, Karag Nightwolf says, question for the Christians, is there a valid and sound deductive argument with valid and sound premises for God raising Jesus from the dead?
Minimal facts I would start with. Then I would go to many eyewitnesses are still alive. Paul talks about 1 Corinthians 15, 3-8. Then I would go to the paradigm shift in terms of...
Gotcha. Soldier of Science, thanks for your question, said C and S. Cliffe and Stuart, do you agree that 90% of humans believe in their God based on when and where they were born?
No.
Next, Irresistible. Go ahead.
What's interesting about that is if you look at Hinduism, still mainly located in India. You look at Islam, still mainly in the Middle East, Africa. You look at Buddhism in the East. Christianity, 25% to 12% is spread out all over Europe, Latin America, China. It's the most well-traveled religion by far and away, which I think says something about it.
So go back to like 1400 BC, or excuse me, 1400 CE, and you have Sikhism, right, where you have Guru Nanak, who says God visited him to tell him that neither of the two great religions is the true path. And what are the two great religions? Hinduism and Islam. Christianity, according to God, didn't even merit a mention, right? So Christianity was not important in the 1400s, in the Middle Ages in Pakistan, right? So that's what we get. The two great religions are Hinduism and Islam. Bingo.
And they're still located in their main, where they began. They're
right.
Still
so you just
there.
Verified
Christianity's all over.
You just verified unwittingly that the questioner's assumption is correct, that where they are born depends entirely on what they believe.
No, it's a genetic fallacy.
We don't have people who are born in the United States to Christian families suddenly have visions of Krishna.
You're an atheist because you're a secular atheist humanist because you were born in the U.S. and you're in Dallas, Texas.
Next up, thanks for your question.
That has no relevance to this conversation.
This one comes in from our dearest friend, Desira Does
I just
irresistible...
want to make a statement on what he just said. I have met atheists in Sharia countries. They just have to be quiet about it.
Next, Irresistible Truth, thanks for your question, said, for Cliffe and Stuart, what is the one argument that your opponents should believe that they are suppressing on purpose?
There is no way that I know Tjump and Aron well enough to be able to answer that question. I feel that that would be incredibly judgmental of me to answer that question. Okay, so I don't know them. But I do know that when my brother was at Princeton, his unbelieving friends would fire one difficult question at him after another. And around about midnight, my brother would say, all right, guys, if these questions are really keeping you away from Christ, we'll pull an all-nighter. But if the real issue is, I want to do my thing my way, and I don't want anybody telling me how to live my life, then let's face that fact, and let's stop hiding behind these intellectual smoke screens. Every single time my brother's Princeton classmates would say, Stuart, you're correct. We reject Christ, not because we have reasoned it through and we have found an option that is supported by more evidence. Rather, we reject Christ because we don't want God telling us how to live our lives.
Introduce your brother to me.
Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, introduce your brother to me because I am not that person.
Good. I never.
I don't believe you. I don't believe the bullshit story.
I don't know what Aron.
I don't believe the bullshit story you just told. Because that doesn't apply to me or any other atheist I've ever met in my life. Introduce me to your brother. We'll pull an all-nighter, and I'll fix his ass.
Well, next, all right, we'll wrap up with that. So I want to say thank you all for being with us tonight. We have got all of our guests linked in the description.
I still have a couple of questions.
Oh, that's right. Aron does have a couple specific questions for Cliffe and Stuart if you guys are up for it.
Yeah, it's just two. It should be easy. I want a description from the Christians of what Jesus did, what was his purpose, and what did he accomplish? Let's start with that.
His purpose was to come, save, and buy back humanity, to change hearts, because ultimately we know in this world, education, technology, and science only do so much. Ultimately becomes a heart change. So he came back to buy us back, to start changing things here and now, not to look at some pie in sky by and by, but instead because this is going to be the new Jerusalem, the new heaven, the new earth is going to come here, that we should be on the front lines, just like the Christians in Africa, doing things against the AIDS crisis, for example.
So what changed?
What changed? When?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, Jesus shows up and something changed. What is it?
What is it like? I mean,
what did Jesus do?
2/3 of the Roman Empire. 2/3 of the Roman Empire became Christian within a few hundred years.
Within a few hundred years. So what
you mean
did
like the
Jesus
sociological or worldwide benefits of him being here? Is that what you mean?
What did Jesus do? It's the same question.
He was born in a feeding trough. He taught great things. He taught as one who had authority that no one had ever heard of before.
That's a whole other debate. Jesus taught
people,
utter inanity and
bullshit.
He healed people,
healed the sick.
No, he didn't. He was a faith healer. He was a fraud. But I don't want to argue that. I want to know what your position is on what Jesus did. What was the change that Jesus made in our lives as people 2,000 years ago? What was the change?
Like they're ready for the second question. I hate to push us into that one, but
I mean, I could keep going, but did you want to add? Yeah, let's
James, go. James. What's the second question, Aron?
If you were always a good person, and you did not answer the first question, I don't want to be blanket on that. You didn't answer the first question at all.
We never answer any of your questions, Aron. You make that real clear.
I don't know why we even have these discussions then. So what if you were always a good person and you heard of Jesus, but you never believed in it because it just sounded like bullshit? Because it does sound like bullshit. Yep. And then you die. What happens to you?
You bet. It's real simple. I've only met one student in the past 38 years of speaking on university campuses who claimed to be a morally perfect person. That was at MIT. And when
Did
that
we-
MIT
did we say
student
morally
said,
perfect?
I
I
have
said
lived a
good.
morally perfect life, all of his
I said
MIT
good.
classmates in that classroom burst into laughter.
Okay.
All
I
right.
said good,
Jesus
not
Christ
morally
defines
perfect.
good as morally perfect.
Okay, so but I
None of
didn't
us are
say
morally
morally perfect.
perfect.
I
Christ
said
offers
good.
all of us forgiveness and eternal life. For those of
Okay,
us who
so
have
if
a
you
sin
don't
problem,
believe the bullshit story, and you're good, not morally perfect, but taking everything positives and negatives, you're on the plus. You know, you're on the positive, right? You do more good than bad,
right?
because I don't believe in the two, you know, the two sides of extremes. I believe in the bell curve. Remember,
Right.
So if you're on the bell curve and you're slightly on the good side of normal,
Yep.
right? So that, but you don't believe the bullshit story,
Right.
and then you die. What happens?
Well, I've worked in a lot of prisons, and I've never met an inmate who said that they were on the wrong side of the bell curve. They've always said they've been good people, and I have an ability to say that I'm a good person also, but I think that Jesus' analysis of the human heart shows that I'm not as good as I would like to persuade everybody that I am. I
And
have a
even if
problem with
that were
human
the
evil.
case, but it still works out that you're more positive than negative and you're slightly on the good side of the bell curve, then what happens?
What happens is when you sin, you're basically saying, God, take a hike. I want to live my life
When
separate
you
from
are
you.
basically a good person, as I said, weighing all your positives and negatives, you end up on the positive side. I'm having to ask the same question over and over again, but you never believe the bullshit story that is obviously a bullshit story, that you have to believe in God.
We must move
you have
forward.
to believe in specifically Jesus. You have to defy the first commandment to believe that there's another God before God, that he is the God that gets to God. Yeah, you have to defy the first commandment in order to be Christian. What happens if you don't believe that lie and you're basically a good person? What happens to your soul?
If you choose to live your life separate from God, God will not violate your decision.
What if you're a
You will
Hindu
spend eternity
or a
separate from
Jew
him.
or
This
a
is the
Muslim
third or
and
fourth
you're
question.
basically good
we do have
and
another
you don't
question from the
believe
audience.
Jesus? What happens to your soul?
I hate to do this, but I can give you guys.
I knew
Cliff
I
and
wasn't
Stuart.
going to get an answer to that before I asked it. I just want
can give
everybody to
you-
know that.
Can give you guys a chance to answer it, but then we do have to go to the next question. We do
Give
have
them
a
a
couple
chance,
questions.
but you won't. They won't.
Here's
give me
the answer. I'll give you the answer.
They won't.
I'd be playing God if I answered that. Is that an answer?
You just told me you're not going to give me an answer.
God,
Thank you.
Next
How
up,
is a human being
we have
able to
another
say
one.
whether a soul is
Let's
going
see.
to heaven or not? I mean,
Cupcake for all.
Because
Sorry,
you have the
I missed your
doctrine that you
question.
say is the absolute truth
We,
of the revealed word of the one
we
true
do-
God.
I have to
just like
redirect us.
14 other religions have.
We do have to redirect us. Cupcake for all. Thanks for your question. Sorry, I missed it. They said, Cliff and Stuart, why did you call Camus a prophet? Do you understand the difference between prophets and philosophers?
Who? Camus?
Camus, C-A-M-U-S.
Oh, Camus.
Camus.
Yeah, Albert Camus was a Nobel laureate author in like the 1950s.
Nailed it. He died in, I think, 51, I believe it is. Check me on that. So Camus became a Christian the final few years of his life before he died tragically in a car accident.
That's sad because he was a good philosopher up until then.
And what led him there was, again, it was the whole question of meaning of life. And he started reading the Bible for himself, got introduced to Christ. It wasn't through the Bible. It was the character of Jesus Christ that led him ultimately to say, okay, there is a meaning beyond me. And that is Jesus Christ in terms of all the intangibles that he has to offer in terms of love, sacrifice, forgiveness, why to help and serve other people.
We must move on. We do have another one. This one's from Gabriel K. Thank you, Gabriel K.
Camus Journal.
We appreciate your question. Gabriel says, when you pass, you will not walk into the light, but lead people into ignorance
No way.
through primeval darkness you left behind. I think that's an insult to you, Cliff and Stuart. Sorry. Next up, I don't know if you want to respond. You can. Did you hear it?
Yeah, I mean that's hilarious because that goes both ways. We both think that we have the light when there is darkness on the other side. So we're both proselytizing in different ways to hopefully help the other side see the truth. So at least we're all truth seekers here trying to find the truth.
Next.
And yet God is going to punish
Thanks
me
for
as
your
a truth
question.
seeker for
Appreciate
being a
this
truth
one
seeker.
is from Seth Nesmith. Says, Stuart, why do you claim God did anything if you can't even prove empirically that he exists to do anything? I can say a unicorn is those. I can say a unicorns is those things. I think they're saying they could try to say that a popcorn caused the things that you think God caused.
Yeah, so if you're looking for empirically prove to me that I have to do that. I mean, can you even empirically prove that statement? I would start there. And then secondly, I would say, I mean, look at science. Aron loves talking about science. There is both a type of evidence leading to proof that's based off of what is produced in a lab, but then there's also forensic science. And so we can't do science, that type of science, proving things when we put somebody on the moon. It's based off of what has happened in the past, so it's based off of a type of history. Now, the Gospels and understanding who God is closer to that second type of science.
Oh, man,
Gotcha.
like everything
We
you just
must,
said was wrong.
I hate to
I mean,
say it.
like,
We
all
just,
of it.
I know.
Surprise.
Let's hopefully we can get a round 3 in.
All
That
of
would be
it.
fun. Thanks so much for your hanging out with us, everybody, in the live chat. Thanks to our moderators for doing a great job on banning hate speech. Appreciate that as well. And want to say thanks so much, though, to our guests. It's been a true pleasure. They're all linked in the description, folks. So if you want to hear more, you can. And so, yes, thank you very much, Cliffe, Stuart, Tom, and Aron.
I want to apologize
Thank you,
for
guys.
Tjump for not letting him like just run this debate. I don't know. I just wanted to jump into the fight. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
It's always
I enjoy
intense.
popcorn.
We appreciate it's a lively one. We had another question. Seth Nesmith, thanks for your last minute question, said if you can't prove it and you can't show it, why should anyone listen to you? Again, it has the same amount of importance as Santa Claus.
Okay, so again, that's a type of proofism. You can't prove that statement, one. Secondly, going about that in that type of way, people disagree on what is real proof and what is real evidence, shown even here tonight. So what is proof? What is evidence? You have to break that down, and then you have to start to get to exactly what we've been talking about. What is historical evidence? And I think it's all about choosing Christianity to be ultimately rational has to do with, is it existentially satisfying with our experience, our emotions, all that we've talked about in terms of love, desires, ultimate hope, and then also, is it intellectually credible? And I think with those two, Christianity combines those beautifully. I think atheism is pretty good here with some of the rationality. I think it totally is horrible in terms of existentially fulfilling. That's why a lot of atheists kill themselves, like Camille talked about doing.
Excuse me? Why are we happier than you? I don't get
We're
that.
not happier.
How do
Oh, we're
we?
gonna talk about
No,
these
we
studies?
are. We're
No.
less criminal than you are. We are
Oh.
statistically more moral
Like
than you
Susan
are.
Blackmore. Susan Blackmore made
Interesting.
that comment to me completely false. Did you
We-
not just
oh,
see the
we had
study
another
that came out of
question.
Harvard?
I hate
Yeah, go-
I hate to interrupt, but we had Seth Nesmith has another question. It says, "What the heck is proofism? Laughing my butt off. Good debate."
Yeah,
Aron-
there's no such
and they
thing as
said-
proofism.
No, it's
they
made
said-
up. I
No,
realize
the
that.
Christians here
they said-
are arguing a complete straw
said,
man.
"Aron, I
Science
love listening
doesn't
to
prove
you."
things in the positive sense. We show that there's a substance there. Christians can't show that there's a substance there. So that's the purpose of the whole argument.
You
They
can't prove a
can't
negative.
show that there's a
You
there.
can't
They're
prove a
done.
negative. Atheism is a negative. You can't prove it.
I don't have to prove it. I said Hitchens' razor.
right.
What is asserted without evidence is dismissed without evidence. If you make an unsupported assertion, it doesn't warrant serious consideration. You are making an unsupported assertion of impossible absurdities that is not supported by anything and has not even a possibility, yet you're insisting that it's absolutely true. No, you're full of shit.
Did I say absolutely true once?
I don't know that
we
you
must
did.
move. I
Well,
hate
you're
to do this, but
completely
we do
convinced
have
of
a
it, and that
lot
means
of.
the same thing.
We have.
Your dad
do wanna
here
say-
kept saying over and over again, I am convinced of these impossible absurdities and I'm not going to be reasoned with. Yeah, he did say that over and over again.
Not once.
Next, we.
Yes, he did
want
several
to-
times.
No,
I am
we-
convinced. I am
must-
convinced
okay.
that because we
Yeah,
both agree that
it's
love
like,
exists, that
we
means that
appreciate this.
fairies exist,
Not once did I say
All right,
that
that.
magic
must-
is real.
We must go to the next thing,
Yeah,
which
your
is.
dad did actually
the
say
word-
that because
all
love
right.
exists, and we both agree that love
We
exists. He
appreciate
then
it.
made a bunch of false statements that love is
Wild.
not chemical, that love is a matter of choice, which is complete bullshit.
We
and
do
that,
have
and
to.
that his
I hate to
faulty
do this, Aron, but
understanding
we
about
do
that
have to.
caused him to
We have
to
assume
wrap up.
wrongly that magic is real.
These guys are on
Yeah,
the
he
East
did
Coast.
over and over again. I am convinced.
It's
he kept
11:30 over
saying.
there. We have to. So we. But we do have a want to say thanks so much. The word on the streets here is that allegedly hitting like helps a video. So if you enjoy this debate, if you're like, I like that was a good one, hit that like button, as we do appreciate that support. And as mentioned, all of our guests are linked in the description. We hope to see you tomorrow night for a juicy one as Team Skeptic returns. First time in a while. It's been a long time. He will be taking on Conspiracy Castle. That should be a juicy one. That's at the bottom right of your screen. And want to say thanks so much for hanging out with us, folks. We hope you keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. Take care. And one last thanks to our guests, Cliffe, Stuart, Tom, and Aron, for being here.
Thank you, James. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, gents.
Thank you. Take care and have a great night, everybody. We'll hopefully see you tomorrow. friends, what is up? This is the, you could say, after credit scene. Want to say thanks so much, you guys. Seriously, you make it so fun. I appreciate you just hanging out here. And so we were doing these like post credits, like post debate credits scenes of me just wanting to hang out with you, because it's like I never really get to talk to people during the debate, you know, like I'm kind of focused, and there's a little bit of I get to say hello in the live chat, but getting to directly like this is honestly a true pleasure for me. And so it's also great to get feedback if if you've got thoughts that you'd like to share or questions. And one thing too, I want to let everybody know that we've always wanted to be very open about how we do the show. So like when I started, there were some channels that they did what basically we do now, and I was kind of like trying to like learn how they did it, but it was like like they were kind of more secretive about it. And Matt Culbertson, good to see you, buddy. Matt was like there back before we even became a debate channel. That's like we used to be called Modern Day Hysteria, if anybody's around. It used to just be about controversial topics and just like a kind of a smattering of them. And so yeah, Big Daddy Sheep and Z, good to see you. Thanks so much for coming by. Lily B, thanks for that love. That seriously appreciate that. That means a lot. And yeah, basically we are open to telling you how we do everything. We don't keep it a secret. We are willing to tell anybody. We basically we use OBS and we do a window capture and we pull Zoom into it, and it's that easy. It's pretty easy. It's easier if you're on a PC in terms of the audio connecting, but and it you gotta like learn a couple things with like OBS because it's not super intuitive. As you know, it took us a long time to figure out the audio, but yeah, basically, if you do want to know, we're happy to share. We don't have any secrets. We can tell you what software we use. I can give you my opinion on like what to do and how to do it. So yeah, we do appreciate you guys so much. And trying to think of upcoming debates. Tomorrow should be a juicy one. That's going to be a lot of fun with, as I mentioned, Team Skeptic coming back and Conspiracy Castle. Also, we are pumped though. I'm trying to think of basically King 101 said, James, you should probably advise less verbal aggression and drinking in the debate atmosphere. Like, let's see, it was a wild one tonight. I agree. It was, you could say, a controlled burn. It was close to being a dumpster fire, and maybe it even drifted into that some. But overall, it's been, it was passionate, but still reasonably controlled, and that's usually what we're going for is kind of that walking the line. And thanks for your feedback. NC Servisto says, keep on trucking, James. Your platform is great, a great achievement. That means a lot. Thanks so much. And it's all credit to all the people that have helped us, which is like everybody. Like, this channel really is a community effort, and so we appreciate it so much. Everybody out there. One big thing that people have done, also want to give huge shout outs to people who have like connected us to like speakers. They're like, hey, Mr. Reagan, do you want to have him on? And I was like, yeah, it'd be awesome. And they're like, his YouTube channel is, we talked to him and he said he'd be willing to come on. We're like, that'd be awesome. Thanks for doing that. And so they would help us connect with those people. That is one way, a ton of ways though. And so really do appreciate that. Bruce Wayne says, I think Seth Nesmith would be a wonderful moderator, James. I vouch for him. Well, pleased to meet you, Seth. And let me know if you would, if you would like to be a mod, as we really only have one rule, which is just no hate speech. And thanks for your super chat from Strudel Slayer, who says, hope this gets through. Tom needs recognition on his speech about why we help people on the other side of the globe. Beautiful. I'm so baffled on what that means. Sorry, friend. Maybe it's because it's late. It's like going on 10 for me. But they say Tom needs recognition on his speech about why we help people on the other side of the globe. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, you're saying like Tom has an argument for why we should give to people who are on the other side of the planet, and his argument or speech is a good one. And so that's interesting. I've never heard it, but I'm totally like pumped to hear it. And we do we couldn't agree more. One of the charities that we like to give to through our like charity drives is Save the Children, which is basically globally they try to help children in poverty with things like just helping them get fed and get clean water, and also helping provide an education. And so we couldn't agree more. Spooky Bed Hair, thanks for your feedback. Said all you need now is a wristwatch and you were all set. I don't get it. Sorry, I don't. I wish I did. A wristwatch. You mean like then I'd look like professional? Is that it? I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to be professional, folks. Thanks for your kind words, Lily B. Rich and Hyde said maybe you say to your debaters to equalize their microphones. Sometimes it's very ear-killing. Tinnitus coming. I couldn't agree more. We do try to do that before the show now, which we didn't used to do, which is embarrassing. But now before the show, we do a sound test to try to make sure everybody's on the same level. For some reason, oftentimes it like, I don't know if it's people's mics, if they have some sort of smart mic that adapts throughout the debate, or if it's just that the yelling sometimes happens. Seth Nesmith, thanks for being a mod. I'm modding you up right now. And same thing, just, we just ask the mods, please don't insult anybody. If you want to give your opinion on who you think is winning, like, that's actually fine. We consider you like a volunteer that helps the channel, but like, and so like we don't like hold you to the same standard that if I were to come out and be like, oh, so and so totally won, or I'm going to do an after show on how somebody got blown out of the water, that's like not what I'm going to do and what MDD per se would do. But as mods, like, I think it's like fine as long as we have a mix of people who are, I just don't want you to feel like you're on eggshells as a moderator. I don't want it to feel like, like I do, I want you to be serious about getting rid of any hate speech, but I don't want you to feel like you're like working really. I want you to feel like you can still have the freedom to say what you want other than insulting people. Spooky Bed Hair says you sometimes start late. So true. Wouldn't be us if we didn't start late. Big Daddy Sheep NZ says if you need more mods, I'll become one. Willing to give you a shot, Big Daddy. I just added you, so appreciate that support. That help means a lot. And I'd say like mods, if you can help. One thing that we've been asking mods to do recently, and I know that it might feel awkward. You might feel like, oh man, like I don't want to do that. Like don't feel like you have to force it. But if you are willing to greet new people, so if you see someone you're like, I don't think I've seen them here before. I've just been encouraged that, we've learned from some people that this channel is like a community for them. Like it really does. It's a place where they feel welcome and they feel like, hey, this means a lot to me that I get to, like just kind of, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And that being the case, we do want to basically, we want to welcome people. And so if you're up for it, please do feel free to just say like, hey, like God of Spaghetti, I've never seen you here before. Want to just let you know, we hope you feel welcome and all that good stuff. So there is an after show. Oh man, I don't have the link in the description. I'll see if David P. Neff, if you guys know David P. Neff's channel, he's hosting an after show. But if he sends me the link, I can put that in the description for people. I don't know if it's going to be in there, so don't hold your breath. And let's see. I agree. Sometimes we have some unsavory characters, as Erica would say, that, like spouting hate speech. And it's true. We don't want them. We don't want that happening. I do want those people here so we can hopefully change them. That like hopefully they can kind of like realize like that it's not good to hate people. And so we do want to have a truly diverse mix of people, not because we value any sort of hate speech. We obviously don't. We ban it. But when we do have people here from all walks of life, our hope is that they would kind of brush shoulders with people and kind of leave any sort of hateful group that they might be involved with. And then thanks Lily B saying, I could be a mod in the future. I'd be down. I'm a social sciences student, so I know of a couple things about hate speech. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty, let's see. I mean, like hate speech is like pretty easy. Like we just don't want the words that you would probably usually think of as hate speech. And so, yeah, it's pretty rare that we get it, to be honest. I think overall, at least, when you think of all the people in chat. But I'm willing to give you a shot, Lily B. I hope mods don't feel triggered when I sometimes take the mod wrench away. Thanks, King 101. Appreciate your kind words, and thanks for being so respectful. I really do appreciate that. I appreciate that people like not get triggered and take it personal if we ever take a wrench away. It's just that if sometimes it's like if I see a mod and they're like, so and so is such an idiot, and I'm like, it's not what we're hoping for from a mod. So we hope you understand that it's like I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's like, I don't know, in a way, wouldn't it be like a relief because you're doing like you're not like tasked with being a mod, like it's not work. So like if you don't have the wrench anymore, maybe I would hope it might feel liberating. I don't know, but thanks for your kind words. God of Spaghetti, you said just brigade the chat because their position has no merit. Yeah, it's true. That is something that some hateful people sometimes do, try to do a blitz on the chat. And I didn't know that the first time we had Enoch and Stryker here. Some of their fans, I don't know a lot about these guys, but we saw some people come that night on their first debate here where I think they were like trying to blitz the chat, like trying to make it move so fast that we couldn't keep up with the hate speech. So we learned our lesson, and I think we're still deleting hate speech, but I don't know if we got all of it, and that's obviously not what we want. So we do want to delete everything. So let's see. NC Sorvisto, thanks for partying with us. Let's see. But yeah, I'm probably going to rock and roll in a second, but really do want to say we appreciate you folks. Perfect One says, if you all are looking for mods and you feel that you know me well enough, I'd be pleased to serve as a moderator for you. We'll give you a shot. I mean, we've got a lot of mods though too. And so kind of like that'll be it for tonight. But thanks for your being willing to help. That really does mean a lot. Rich and Hyde at 6 a.m. there. Stay awake always for your show. The chat here is crazy sometimes. Thanks for staying awake. That's nice of you. I hope you get enough sleep during the day. Zacuse said, hey, James, you're one of the ones who gets close to the right pronunciation. Literally the letter Z in the word goose, but a C instead of G. So I guess it must be Zacuse. Appreciate that feedback. And Carnivorous Ape says, if that's the case, then why does Praise have a wrench? He was doing that to Aron pretty much the entire time. I don't know if you noticed, I actually did take Praise's wrench away. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. And Bruce Wayne says, what is the song that is played on this channel? Let me look that up. It's in the description. I think it's down there right now. And the name of it's World Goes Wild by Above Envy, and that's always under description. Mods, if you can do a favor too, if anybody asks for the song, if you just let them know, say, hey, it's actually, James already put that in the description for you. Thanks for your kind words, Thanlin101, who said, we appreciate your work and the channel. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. Big Daddy Sheep says, have you got any news on the special guest debate and the GoFundMe or whatever? Yeah, thanks for asking. I think we're probably going to do it. Based on the feedback last night, if you haven't heard, folks, we are considering a high-profile debate. So, big-time name. I would say kind of up there on the level of, close to, Richard Dawkins level. So, biggest we've had yet. I'd say Bart Ehrman maybe would be the biggest we've had or yet to have. And this one would probably be, maybe bigger. So that is one that I can't blame speakers. It's a very reasonable thing if they have an honorarium. I think sometimes people get weird about money and they're oh, it's you shouldn't do it for money. And it's I don't see why it's wrong if a speaker wants an honorarium. It's a consensual deal. We don't have to pay anybody if we don't want to in order to have them on. And their time's valuable. I mean, it's true. A lot of these people get paid big bucks, way more than we usually have to pay if they go speak somewhere in a live venue. And so I will say this: we are considering it, and so I can only tell you that this is totally a giveaway. The person's initials are MS, but we are trying to set it up. And basically, that's funny. Appreciate that, Seth. Helping out Bruce Wayne. We're thinking we're probably going to do a Kickstarter. We would probably do $3 to watch it live. It'll always be public. We don't want any of our debates behind a paywall. But so it will be public like the day after in the next couple of days. But on the day that it's live, that's something we're like, hey, would you help us out covering the honorarium? Because sometimes we pay honorariums and we don't have the super chats come in to cover it. And it's not a big deal because the channel's still growing, which is cool. Like, we're excited about the vision. Like, we are not ashamed to say that, yeah, we're trying to grow. Like, we think that there's a value to this. And so we, at the same time, though, like, for me, trying to kind of crawl out of debt. So as a student, it's my own choice that I was a student. So the debt was my choice. But at the same time, given that, regardless of what put you in the debt, it's kind of like where I'm like, well, maybe if everybody wants to put in $3 to watch it live, that can probably help cover the honorarium for some of these bigger names. And this one would be remote, so it would not be in person. And that is kind of why it's like $3. Is that it's like $3 is like a cup of coffee, right? Nowadays, Panera's like $2.60 with tax. It's probably like $2.80. So we're kind of like, hey, if we just do $3 for watching the live stream, that I think is fair. And again, it's like, well, if you don't want to put the $3 in, like, it's not a problem. You could watch it for free the next day or a couple of days after. And so, but yeah, we're thinking probably $3 for the live watch. We might, and then for questions, we might do kind of like pre-super chats. So instead of having super chats during the stream, we would maybe do something like, hey, do you want to ask a question? And, those will probably be more expensive to try to help cover the costs. But we might instead just say, hey, thanks for Language and Programming Channel for understanding and not worrying about the mod thing. Is that basically, yeah, we might do like questions that are maybe even like, I know it's like, it sounds like you might be like triggered by this, but like to help cover that cost, because the total cost would probably be about $2,000, because we do want to give the other person at least some honorarium because they've helped the channel a ton. That person, I can tell you, is Inspiring Philosophy. He's never asked for anything. He's never taken anything. And that's not true of every a guest. And there's nothing wrong with, like I said, wanting an honorarium. That's fine. But the fact that Inspiring Philosophy, Mike Jones, has never asked for one, he's never required one, that's pretty impressive. Like, it's very selfless. That's very giving of him. And so that's why I want to help him get some honorarium as well. And so, yeah. So, but yeah, so the questions might be like $50 purchasing a question beforehand, just as a fundraiser, kind of to help raise the money. And we're open to different ideas, so we'll want your feedback once we open up that Kickstarter, as I think we'll probably do. And we'll probably do like an official poll to get like a vote from people. And if people are just like, no, like, don't do that, I don't like this idea, then maybe we'll just say, all right, well, maybe we'll just pass on it. Maybe someday in the future if it's in person. So yeah, but yeah, thanks so much, folks. Want to say we appreciate you. We'll give you some deets about that within a month. And it's just that it's something that I like take really seriously. Is I'm like, if we're gonna, like, even though it's, it's only $3 to watch the thing live, we, like, that's like, for me, I just don't want to be like a panhandler, like, I don't want to be like, hey, money. And so Seth Nesmith said, James, do you think you would do this multiple episodes or just one to pay for the cost? So, so we would not do like every debate like this. This would be a one-shot thing where, we would do a one-shot thing where it's like, we see how it goes. If people like it, cool. Maybe we'll do it again if we want to get somebody like Richard Dawkins eventually. And because we absolutely believe we can get to that point of like hosting like maybe Richard Dawkins, Jordan Peterson. Those are like the dreams. And so let's see. Big Daddy Sheep said, I would say the GoFundMe $3 is much better and more accessible to the audience than a super chat fundraiser. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. the questions prior, that like the idea of doing it $50 is that it's like, I just don't know. I mean, maybe what we'll do is what we could do is this. Maybe we just open it up. We say, hey, do you want to watch it live? If you think this is actually a cool idea, like if you even are on board, or if you just don't like it, let us know. And then if we have enough people like sign up, like if we're like, whoa, like 500 people put down $3, then it's like, oh, okay, like maybe we can lower the price for the questions during the Q&A. The only reason that I'm thinking of like possibly saying like, hey, if you want to ask a question, are you willing to put in $50? Because I agree, that's way more. We rarely ever get a super chat for $50. The reason would just be that it's like if we only have 100 people sign up and they're like, yep, here's my $3. And it's like, cool, we have 300 live watchers, or I should say $300 from those 100 live watchers. We still have to cover $1,700. And maybe we can, through the months of promoting it, we could like get enough people to cover that. But that's the only reason why the questions would be more expensive. So Rich and Hyde, thanks for your feedback. Said, don't be ashamed to do the money thing. You need to grow. Investing is the best thing too. In-person debates. I agree. It would be great if it was in person. And I do lament the fact that the first one would be remote. So it would be just like our normal setup, where basically the speakers would be like doing it from their homes. And so, yeah, I mean like, so yeah, it's not ideal, but with COVID right now, it's kind of hard to do in person. And so let's see. Seth Nesmith says, yeah, if you had big names, definitely charge that much. So it sounds like, and then I agree, Rich and Hyde, like we're pumped about growing. We're not ashamed of it. That's something that it's like, we're like absolutely just like, hey, like we're excited to grow. We think we have something cool to offer the world, and we're going after it. We're excited about what we do. We love it. I'm probably don't sound like it because I'm like about to fall asleep. I'm really tired, but I love it. And let's see. Spooky Bedhair said, do you have a member/join thingy like some channels? We don't. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that would be cool? Like, I'm totally would love to hear your thoughts. We maybe would do that if people would think it's valuable. I don't know what the perks are. I've got to learn, to be honest. And then Andrew T said, update on the Camboy debate. I don't know what Camboy means. Like if we had a camera boy there? I'm like confused. But let's see. Jaden Havener says, when you first started the channel, how did you get people on to debate, seeing that not many people watched early? It's so true that not many people watched early. The simple truth is, in terms of our big leaps in growth when we were a tiny channel, Kent Hovind, for real. We had Kent Hovind on like once a month. That was before we, sometimes we got on his nerves a little bit. And I don't blame him for that. Seriously, don't blame him for that, folks. Like, because sometimes that's a hard thing where it's like, we had somebody on here said something bad about Hovind after Hovind left, and it was true that like it was I should have done a better job of saying like, all right, he's not here to defend himself. And so that's something I like kind of learn as you go with time. You kind of get the experience. And so but yeah, Kent Hovind helped a lot, and he's willing to go on almost any channel as long as you don't burn him. Otherwise he's kind of like, well, forget that. And so, but we do think he'll probably come on within the next month. Mark Drisdale is working on it. So let's see. Big Daddy Sheep and Z said, modern day debate, I would definitely do a member thing in Patreon. Thanks for that, man. Let's see. Said, honestly, just making some custom emojis are often enough. It's more to show our support and get a green name. Huh. That's cool. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, we can definitely do that. And then, but yeah, they said seeing that not many people watched early on. So Ken Hovind was one. Nephilim Free is actually like super open to debating. And Neph, when we started, like Neph was a giant because we had like 200 subs when I first asked Neph to come on, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'd love to. And so we were like, all right, wow, this is awesome. We got like Nephilim Free, because it's true. It's funny when we have these huge name people on, a lot of them, they're like, oh my gosh, Nephilim Free's still around. And these are like people that have grown to be like hundreds of thousands of subs, but they still remember back in the day when there were very few YouTubers, Nephilim Free was always there debating. So everybody at some point crossed swords with Neph in the past. I would say consistency, though. Yeah, it was like at the very first debate we ever hosted was just my buddies, from school. They came on and debated immigration. Back then we thought that was like too controversial, so I deleted it. I wish I didn't, but I thought that YouTube was gonna like come for us. So I did not know that, because now we do way, way more controversial debates. Camboy versus Simp debate would be epic. I still don't know what these means. I've heard the SIMP word. I'm trying to not get YouTube to. We're trying to like be more mainstream and like not talk about simps all the time. But let's see. Also, Dr. Avi's willing to debate on veganism. We definitely want to have that, actually. Lily B said, what are your thoughts on having Alden of Alden's Number fame on the channel? Oh, man, we've totally wanted to get Alden on ever since that debate. What was it, last week? Jaden Havener said, is there a modern day debate studio, or do you just work from home? This is just a homemade studio. It's actually like really, what's the word I'm looking for? Not fancy. This is just like draped over a kind of like a, I don't know, like a furniture thing behind me. I've got a black sheet from Walmart, and it's the kind that doesn't wrinkle that much, at least. And then I've got a blue light that I shine onto it. And so this little guy, where is it? There it is. This is my light. I got a blue bulb on Amazon for like $5, and then the lamp on Amazon as well. You can just clip it on. So that is, now it's off, and then when it's on, though, this is what you guys see, what it looks like. I just feel like it adds a little bit of like, I don't know, looks kind of cooler. And then, yeah, that's right, Rich and Hyde, you're right, the old blue layout. We used to just have like a wrinkled old blue sheet that would hang behind me. And then if you remember a really long time ago, we had like the background. I would used to like shoot them at do streams at school, and like they have these like artistic things that are like chilling out in the what's the word I'm looking for? Big room, courtyard, the inside courtyard. Jason Havener said, what's the most controversial topic you hosted on the channel? Maybe, I think the race debates are pretty controversial. I think, like the debates on whether or not COVID is a hoax. That's one that I'm still a little bit nervous that'll get us in trouble, but we said we'd host anything, so that won't clearly get us kicked off of the platform. Carnivorous Ape, thanks for your questions. A G-Man versus Nathan Thompson debating on Flat Earth would be hilarious. I agree, that would actually be awesome. And then, but yeah, so, all right, folks. Love you guys. Seriously, I just really appreciate you partying here. Let's see. That's good to know. I didn't know that you can get in trouble for hosting banned people. Because I know that, Oliver's not banned yet, but probably will happen. But thanks for your kind word, Vlad Teeps, who said, I think I speak for most when I say your channel is refreshing. That means a lot. Jaden Havener said, are you full-time on Modern Day Debate, or is this a side type of thing that you do in the downtime? What did you do before you went full-time? I'm not full-time, actually. This is just a hobby. I'm working on my doctorate, and it's exhausting. I wanted something to help me stay sane, something I enjoyed, and that I could like learn new things. And the tech and stuff, like learning that is already kind of a challenge. But then it's, cool to get to listen to debates. So yeah, like my Monday through Wednesday is unbelievably busy. I'm like dead after that. And thanks, Rich and Hyde, for that feedback on the audio. We used to have terrible audio, and it was for like months. It was just terrible. it would just go, oh man, you thought, so yeah. But anyway, we, yeah, so it's like I teach a couple classes. I teach general psychology, which is really fun. I do love it. And it's a blast, but it's tiring because I'm also like doing the research stuff. I'm also taking 4 classes, which is a lot for. I'm clearly in the early part of the doctoral program. I'm in my 3rd year, and it'll probably be about 5 years that I'm here, maybe 4. But yeah, so it's like it's usually you don't take that many classes in a doctoral program unless it's early on. So it's like this is a fun hobby for me, and I started it while I was here in the doctoral program too. It was a first year, and I used to shoot it. We used to stream when because now, yeah, so basically I used to share an office and would do it when my office mate wasn't there. So Jaden Havener said, what's the criteria for someone to come on your channel to debate usually? We usually, this is like, and then I'll take Big Daddy Sheep. I'll answer your question, and then I've got to rock and roll. I'm so tired. We usually, there are a couple things. One, we ask for a prior debate now. That's a big one. It's really important because we do have the audience now. The audience is very, like, frankly, they're getting pickier. So, like, they want more experienced debaters, people who put in time working at it. And they know, like, they can tell when somebody's, like, when it's not their first rodeo or not. So that's a big one. And seeing footage, like, helps a lot. And then the other one is if you have a partner lined up, that helps a ton. Right now, I just can't, not during the semester, I can't set up stuff. I can't believe I've been sitting here 3 hours. Wow, that's crazy. So finding a partner is huge. I would say, like, I would probably be more, yeah, so it's like that. I just can't set people up. I can't be a broker during the semester. It's hard. I am willing to during fall break, winter break, all that, summer break especially. But right now, it's just like a person would definitely have to have a partner. And then, let's see. Big Daddy Sheep said, do you secretly take notes on everyone? No, I don't. Although I do keep notes on, like, who are, I know maybe it sounds mean, but it's like, you know, the audience wants to watch good debaters. And so I do now take notes on, like, when I realize, like, this person's not as strong as I thought in terms of how good of a debater they are or how bad. And, like, I've got debate experience myself. Like, I used to debate on here a lot when we were really young as a channel. So I debated, like, Chris, biblical history skeptic, Jared, Tom Jump. I think we debated at least twice. They're old, but you can look them up on the channel. They're still here. Kyle Curtis, if you know who he is, he's kind of gone. But we had, like, kind of a loosely speaking debate. It wasn't really a debate, but you can see some of, like, my in-person debates that I used to do, and these are, like, ancient. So these are, like, 6 or 7 years ago. I used to debate in front of, like, a live audience, and so that is something that if you so I do have, like, experience in it, and so I feel fairly good about making decisions on who looks like they're experienced or not as debaters. Jaden Havener said, are you personally a Christian or a theist? I am. I'm both. I'm a Christian and a theist. And let's see, politically, kind of independent. I really don't know where I stand politically. And, but yeah, so let's see. I see a question from Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne, thanks for your question, said, well, how do I get experience debating without getting an opportunity to debate? There are a lot of other channels. Sorry, that's, like, the quick and easy answer. Gospel Truth is happy to have atheists, Christians, that channel with, I'm so tired. I think it's Wayne. But awesome guy, really good guy, and he's happy to have anybody come on. Not anybody, but, you know, like, he's more open than I am now. I'm, like, pickier. But Bright Romeo said, James, have you guys thought changing platforms, maybe like Twitch? Yeah, I've thought about that really briefly. I don't think that I don't think we would, but it's something that I'm like open to if it seemed like there were really good reasons to do it. Like maybe we stream live on Twitch, and then we release the videos on YouTube. We could do that, but they're just, I don't know. We'd have to do a poll. Maybe if we do a survey and we find out what % of our YouTube watchers, our normal audience, has a Twitch account, so that it would be easy for them to switch over. That would be informative. Celtic People Archive, when's the next debate on race? That I honestly don't know. And frankly, like those debates, I feel like people just haven't been enjoying them as much. So it might be a while, to be honest. It depends. If it's like a bigger name person like that is like really stoked to do it, I'm like, yeah, I suppose. Like we owe a lot of favors. And so if it was like, if like Destiny or somebody wanted to, it'd be like, sure. Like, because they've helped us a ton. Destiny and Vosh and a lot of other people. Kim, she was awesome. And then Big Daddy Sheep says, oh, that's news to me. So if I go back early enough, I can find them. Time to go on a little lurk and see what James is like as a debater. Yeah, I think there's maybe one still on here with me and Suris and Ocean. And yeah, I'm like definitely more assertive in debates. But the in-person ones I think are the best. Because the other ones with like Tjump and Chris, they're like in McDonald's because I didn't have a place to stream. So they're really bad quality, but they're fun debates. And then and Tom and I still tease each other about who's better. Andrew Handelsman says, are you a Trump supporter? No, I'm not a Trump guy. I'm not as like anti-Trump as a lot of people. Like a lot of people, they're just like going on about like things that I'm like, these seem like kind of minor things compared to the bigger things we can focus on in terms of like criticisms of Trump. Because I mean, I hope anybody would admit there are some things that Trump is, where it's like, there's some bad things that have been done or said, where it's like, but like I said, I'm not like the type that's like all like anti-Trump and like foaming at the mouth. And I do kind of, I think a lot of those people actually, oftentimes unintentionally make critics of Trump look, insane. And then Jaden Havener said, what's your best advice for someone who wants to start a YouTube channel dealing with Christian apologetics or atheist channel? Collaborations are huge. YouTube, the reason that we've grown so fast, one theory I have is because we've had collaborations every single night. We're collaborating with 2 people every night. So even if it's a person with no channel, when they come on and maybe they post it to their friends on Facebook and like 2 people come that way, like you're still like getting greater exposure by working with other people. And so frankly, I think collaborating with other people is a great way to do it. And then consistency with any channel. I think anybody can be a YouTuber if they stick with it long enough. There's just enough people out there that like enough topics that eventually they'll find you. You just have to keep putting out content. That's huge. And Bruce Wayne said, no worries, I kind of figured that was what was expected. It was kind of a joke of a question. Oh yeah, no, it's kind of true though. I mean, like I've thought about that. Like, we don't want to like close the door on people. But they're, let's see. Andrew T said, "What's the funniest debate you've had so far?" The other night I was laughing pretty hard with Vosh here, but I think it was probably with like when we used to have Darth Dawkins on. And I used to like giggle, and like he would get angry, and he would like, and that would make me laugh more. I couldn't help it. Let's see. Rich and Hyde said, much respect to be a Christian and let so many atheists speak. You seem to be so much abroad from your fellow Christians. Keep it up. Tolerance has to be bigger than personal belief. I personally, like, my personal beliefs are most important to me, but I hold tolerance as like a huge value. And so for me, it's like we do want to give everybody a fair shake, you could say. And then I think that's it in terms of like questions. So I appreciate you guys for your kind words. It really does mean a lot, and we really do. We want people to feel welcome. So no matter what walk of life you're from, we do appreciate you as a person. Just hanging out here, we enjoy your company. It means a lot. And yeah, thank you guys so much just for being so supportive of the channel. All the stuff you do in terms of like likes, shares, that really does have an impact. And so we appreciate you guys having done that in the past. Because we can see like on videos where we see like, whoa, like a lot of people shared that video, and even when we don't even ask, so it's like really do appreciate that. And so, yeah, Lily RO says your giggle attacks are the best. It makes me giggle. Like, I thank you for that, Lily. That really does mean a lot. I laugh so hard sometimes. And so it's just that it is fun. I do enjoy doing this a ton. So yeah, thanks so much. And Lily B, last question. Whatever happened to Godless Girl? Godless Girl said FAG in a debate, and so we're like, come on, we're not gonna. So I don't know if it's forever that Godless Girl is banned, but you could say that Godless Girl is banned. So, but thanks so much, everybody. We hope you're well. We hope you have a great rest of your night, though. It's always fun, and we will see you next time, hopefully. So thanks, and take care.